Hey everybody, it's good to see you all again. This segment is just to kind of let you guys know what is going on in this episode. So, in this episode, there is a situation. Towards the end, or anywhere in this episode, there is a blank. That means there's no sound coming in the episode, and you might think that is your fault. That is my fault. You can blame me, say it was my fault, because that is editing problem, and that's because of recording and the recording platform that I use. If that happens to be in the episode, if that's in it, what you need to do is to just disregard it. Don't worry about it. Consider it like an ad break. Consider it like a break. Consider it like we're taking a 5 minute break. Consider it like that. So no freaking out. No need to worry. Make sure you guys enjoy the episode. Enjoy what's in it, and y'all have a good one. And enjoy this one. Really enjoy it and have fun. And please disregard the blanks in there, consider them breaks. Hope you guys enjoy this episode, and thank you guys for understanding and for your cooperation. Everybody, it's so great to be back on one of these little interviews. Right now is April 19th, which means that I don't know, it's the 19th, and it's close to Earth Day. So early happy Earth Day. Please be kind to your planet, or it's going to be unkind to you, which, to be honest, it kind of already has. Anyway, I'm here with Ground Control. I'm super excited to interview him. By the way, he's one of those people that I had to wait a while because of my crappy self, all the shitty stuff that I did before. So, anyway, um, I prolonged long enough. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we got a couple of things to dive deep into. So, what I wanted to ask firstly, and you made this post on the 6th in which you post mini sample packs. So, to clarify, and I want to clarify. So, are the sample packs in every post you do? Because I see like an audio piece. I see like an audio kind of thing in every post you do. Like the recent one, also Under Your Skin, had an audio like song kind of thing attached to it. So is that one of the sample packs, or is that something else that you do when you post something?
No, that's a good question to kind of clarify. So I do mini sample packs, a lot of them being kind of guitar driven, a few drums, loop stuff that I've thrown together myself, which is available on my Patreon for $5 a month. You have access to all these as well as a bunch of other perks. But what is included in those, and that post you were talking about on the 6th, every single slide there, I think I also did like a reel too to showcase it. But all of those are, royalty free, recorded by myself for other producers or artists who are looking to dip their toes in. I want to try to make it as accessible as possible for people who are just starting out or looking for something different in their sound.
Ah, thank you so much for the clear because my initial thought was those pieces were the packs that you were talking about. So I just need clarification on that.
Of course, yeah. So for those, you mentioned Under Your Skin and a few other ones. Um, Predominantly, I'm a producer and artist, and I'm always working to try to do new stuff, try to experiment with different sounds, and post kind of like progress pics, for lack of a better term. Little snapshots as to where I am in a production for myself or for other artists, or simply working on beat tapes, which are also available through Patreon as well as for free, tagged on SoundCloud or YouTube if you want to kind of familiarize yourself with that too before the releasing options. But uh, I think it's a great way to kind of show a bit of a creative style or flair to it for those who are unfamiliar. Obviously, I'm a much smaller artist with I think only like 80 some followers. So being able to provide content in any way possible, specifically through little like snippets and demos like that, I think is a great way to try to bring in new people.
Definitely, definitely for sure. And I love your drive for always helping others, which I deeply praise, and I deeply really wanted to highlight your business and actually putting out these mini packs, even calling them even calling them volume. Like I like that you call them volumes. Um, and I love that you provide people with a lot of genres to experiment. And I'm trying to say the words, but you get my point. Like you just supply them with a lot of different types of music, so that's really amazing. So props to that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that actually. Ground control was the name I came up with. Obviously, it comes from like uh, space travel, sending out, making sure communication is good on the ground, helping others kind of shoot for the stars. And when I started making music, especially in college, it was for other people. I wanted to try to help them do stuff they want to do, whether that was like starting out in like garage band, helping put like some pretty basic drums over stuff. I like the idea of kind of helping other people, getting them to find some kind of easier way to pull that idea out of their head and onto a DAW, onto an actual song, and I just kind of fell in love with the process of it. So that's where I started. That's where I got my name from.
Wow. Okay. Let me just say first that is a really cool name to be honest. And secondly, I'm surprised no one took it because it is a really awesome name. Like if you didn't take it, it probably would be like a K-pop band name or like a rock band name.
Yeah, no, they had the original spelling, so I had to kind of switch it up a little bit. But yeah, I was surprised this one wasn't taken either.
It's crazy, but I if anyone should have the name, like you should definitely have it. Like I mean, I just started talking 5 minutes in, and I'm already extremely impressed. Like, the only thing is that you have a small following, but that will change very soon. That will change very soon.
Fingers crossed.
And it will. We're on a lot of platforms, so trust me, as soon as people hear this, like, you are going to be flowing in DMs. I think. I think. Anyway, now another thing that I wanted to talk about is that you are also a college graduate, which I wanted to really talk about because I don't really get to interview a lot of people that graduate from college. I interview a lot of people who are in college, but you actually graduated college with a BBA and marketing. So I definitely want to get into, how was how was your college journey and actually getting the degree and all that, and what do you plan on using your degree for?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that too, especially right now. I live in Seattle, and job markets right now are pretty abysmal. I graduated in May of 2021, so this is like height of, I wouldn't say height of COVID, but the vaccines aren't like readily available. So there is a lot of lockdown, not a lot of growth for new graduates. And graduating in my senior year was essentially this online Zoom calls. It was very the way you learn, at least myself personally, was more through discussion and interaction and being there in person, which I found incredibly helpful. But it just didn't quite seem to translate in that virtual setting. And graduating during that last year kind of felt like it kind of felt like it wasn't getting what I had the first couple of years I was in college, and then going from that to the job market, which was pretty much non-existent. I was pretty much DOA as far as any other candidates were concerned. I was in this weird spot where I graduated in 2021 that summer, and things were going to get better eventually, and I wasn't really able to get that experience out of college. So the next 6 months or so, I would have been on the same playing field for people that graduated the following semester. And if things weren't better by then, it would have been the following year. And it's just, you have like you tripled your applicant pool size. And I didn't have anything that was this like sustainable competitive advantage in the job market. I graduated, I got my degree, but how many other kids out there have bachelor's degrees, especially in Seattle, too, a very saturated market? Things look good for a little bit. I had a little bit of experience that was related to marketing, but as far as finding something else, now currently I'm sure you've probably heard about like the tech layoffs and everything. You have these giants that used to be relatively safe, your Googles, your Microsofts, your Facebooks, your Amazons, who were cutting like 20 to 30% of some of their departments. And it's hard because you really need to have that A, experience, and B, credentials. So a master's degree, for internships, essentially. It's very hard to compete in this field. So throughout that time, especially COVID, I found myself incredibly drawn to music. That was something that I thoroughly enjoyed before all this happened, and I think COVID stripped back a lot of the layers of what my life was and kind of helped me see the things that were important. And I think I just fell in love with it just head first. Started doing it as much as possible, and have been looking for ways to try to make that like a full-time endeavor or passion. So I'm very grateful for the experiences that I've gained through my undergrad, putting those into the real world, trying to find full-time careers and positions, having graduated during the time that I did, has been a very humbling experience, to put it politely, but it kind of pushes me back towards the music. I feel like it's a job market that doesn't necessarily want me, even though I feel like I did all the right steps to get there. You know, it feels like there was this dissonance almost. And with music, I don't have that. I find the people that I've met through it, the networking, I mean, everybody's been fantastic. I enjoy doing it, and it almost makes it hard to want to continue to find something in a more corporate career field. I hope that answers your question. I just kind of went on a tangent there.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I actually want you to do it. I actually want you to go on tangents. It's weird it's weird, I know,
Perfect.
but that's what the conversation is for. I want you to be as open, you know. So you don't have to be sorry. You know, I do actually appreciate you answering that, and I figured I asked because you have a degree. So, but
Of course.
I don't envision you in corporate actually. Like this music thing really fits you. Like it actually fits you actually, and I totally relate to that struggle during COVID. I mean, the podcast started in the peak of the pandemic, so you can imagine how crazy that had to have been.
I can only imagine. I mean, especially you take a look at it, like I was saying, it kind of strips back all these other things where you're kind of forced to. And I know this sounds like a very privileged thing to say, but you're almost given the opportunity to kind of figure out what matters and what doesn't. I was fortunate to be in a position where housing was covered. You know, I was back at my parents' house, and I didn't really have to worry a ton about money during that time or job security. So I was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to be able to work on stuff like this, to start doing music, something I've always wanted to do, but always had some kind of excuse, as I'm sure you had with like the podcast, where it's like time or money or logistics and all that. And I think for all the horrible that came out of COVID, I think there was a silver lining in the sense that at least I got a chance to explore that kind of creative endeavor. And being able to start making music led me to be able to work with somebody whom I've listened to since I was like a freshman in high school. And that was only after like 6 months of doing music. I got to talk to him, I got to produce a record with him. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever gotten. And I genuinely don't know if that would have happened without COVID.
Definitely. And actually, you hit the target when you said the silver lining, because that's literally everybody. Like everybody had to be creative. I mean, have you seen all the new TikToks with all the cooking challenges and all the at home things to do? Like, if it wasn't for COVID, those wouldn't have happened. I mean, you have no idea. I see millions of at home things to do. Like, I was even this
Oh, 100%.
like I was even in the stage of life when I was experimenting in the kitchen with just random food, and I was just like googling on TikTok and just seeing what can you make with this and that. Like
Did you ever go through like a bread making phase?
Oh my god, I hated bread making.
That's all I saw on TikTok. I just never really got super into it, but I know a lot of people who were just trying to do that. Um, yeah, bread was the big one, and then Tiger King too. I had a buddy mention that a couple days ago. I was like, "Holy shit! I totally forgot about
Me too, oh
that."
my god. Now you said I was like, oh my god, I actually remember that. Oh my god.
Crazy.
I haven't had that forever. Like, oh wow. But you are right though. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, I actually wouldn't have started this, at all. If it wasn't for COVID or or me getting sick. I'm just kidding. I wasn't sick, but like me being quarantined, like
Mhm.
definitely the silver lining, and that's for everyone. The the pandemic challenged us to be more understanding and more, I guess, again, more creative and just seeing that seeing what the world is through different views.
100%. Yeah.
But yeah, God, my throat's killing me. Um, Now another thing that I also wanted to talk about was the move you had. 3 years ago, you did move to Seattle. Now you're 24. So how? I need to rephrase this question. How is 24? You are halfway to being 30, and you graduated from college. So how is where you live at right now, and how is 24 going? And be honest. It's okay to be honest. There's a lot of 30-year-olds watching, so it's okay to be honest if you say it sucks because I'm pretty sure everybody can relate.
Here's the thing, man. I feel like it happens fast, and I think there is just kind of like this wormhole that was 2020 through like 2022. It was kind of this blur of super fast, but also seemed to drag out really long, and you zoned out, close your eyes for a little bit. Next thing you know, you're 24 years old. You are living across the country. You are trying to start a career. You're trying to network outside of it. I mean, a lot of my friends were from Wisconsin. Some I keep in contact with pretty frequently through, playing video games together or group chats. And I think it's nice to be able to be connected with those people in a sense. I mean, you are missing out on that in-person connection. You can't really go out and, hang out with each other in person, which sucks. But I think being able to remain connected more than we ever have throughout like human history is something that I'm forever grateful for, while also giving myself the ability to explore other areas. So I've been in Seattle since 2021. I actually moved here the January 6th of 2021. Um, I always remember that because I think that was like when the insurrection happened. So I remember when I moved here and setting up in the midst of COVID, trying to find jobs. I was finishing up my last year too, and I think the biggest driving factor for me to come out here was just kind of cabin fever with COVID. It was, I love my parents to death, I really do, but I felt like I was just so eager to just take this next step, this post college jump into the real world and kind of just get my beak wet with all that stuff and really get a start on my mid 20s. And I think through that frustration, I didn't necessarily think it through. Um, Job prospects and trying to work while also taking classes. It's a lot to juggle. It's certainly not the hardest thing in the world, don't get me wrong, but in a place where there is an abundance of opportunity, COVID seemed to kind of strip a lot of that back. And I spent a lot of my time just studying at home in a 400 square foot apartment for basically a price that I couldn't really afford. So it ended up being 40 hours a week, working on classes, and then keeping up with music. At this time, I had a record that was coming out produced with this guy named Jared Evan, who is an immaculately talented artist. And if you haven't heard of him, I would highly, highly recommend taking a look at some of his work. Someone I used to listen to in college, I'm sorry, even back in high school. And he held this contest back in like 2020 where you could submit loops or anything really. And if you won the contest, you got to work together, you got to produce a song. It was a super cool opportunity, and I submitted something which ended up getting picked. And being able to produce this song with him and also market it during this time too. So I was kind of juggling three things. And I think through doing those three things at a time, promoting, marketing, producing a record with this guy who was my idol musically, it made it very apparent to see which one I really wanted to spend all my time doing.
Well, well, congrats on the song though. And the artist
Thank you.
actually, like, I've heard of him a little bit. I gotta go back actually. I actually should go back and take a listen to it. I honestly do feel that a lot, and I emphasize honesty a lot because a lot of people your same age watching, and I, I kind of wanted them to like listen and be like, so, do y'all relate?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very, at least my experiences with graduating when I did and moving to a completely different place was relatively unique. I know there are a lot of people who are COVID grads too who can honestly relate to the struggles and the tribulations and all that. But I think a big part, like you said, is just finding the silver lining, finding things that matter, and just consistently trying to be better than you were the day before.
Definitely, definitely. And I push that a lot for people to always do better. And I'm getting sick of people calling whatever things are the best because they're wrong. And they always have that confused face like, why aren't they why isn't that? And exactly, like, you just keep learning and improving, like that kind of thing. So I just, for me, I just don't like the word the best or like the greatest because people are still learning.
For sure.
But very valid points made. Very valid points made indeed. Um, and I definitely want to get into now that you're an established artist. Growing and developing yourself. I definitely want to get into the positives and of course the downsides. So, what would you say would be the most positive impact or aspect of being an artist and a producer, and what's the hardest, challenges and aspects of growing your brand?
Yeah, wow. So I think the positive first is I started out with the production side of it. I'm not much of a singer, but I've been playing guitar since I was 12. So when it came like COVID time, I bought actually my mom. Shout out to my mom, got me an Akai MPK little like MIDI keyboard, which all of the musical knowledge I had was from guitar. So I almost had to like reverse engineer it to figure out the piano. But once you do, all these kind of separate things start to kind of click together, and being able to figure out the production side first, I'm able to mask some of the shortcomings in my vocals and my vocal performance. um, the nice thing about it too is you have more control over what it is you're trying to convey, and once you start, obviously you practice more, you get better at it, you're able to showcase or exemplify certain things that you want to have in your music. And it's more of a deeply personal connection. It's highly individualized to yourself. And then when it comes time for the lyrics and for actually recording a vocal performance, it's easier. It kind of feels more natural. And I think there's just more control over the entire process. As for the downsides, though, it takes forever. I mean, a lot of the work that I've done kind of comes from messing around, trying to remember whatever it was, getting it onto Logic, being able to manipulate it in ways that I can, and just trying different things. If this doesn't work, all right, I'll try something else, or have a few core principles as like, song structure, song layout, and all that. But as far as just like experiment as much as possible, and that takes a long time, especially if you're the one who is producing, arranging, mixing the beat, writing lyrics to it, recording, mastering, and then promoting it. Um, it kind of goes against the short form content era that we're in today, just based off of some of the work I've had both professionally and personally, being able to take a look at analytics on short form content. You have anywhere from, I think it was 0.84 seconds to 1.2 seconds to really grab somebody's attention. And algorithms for TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, they all promote this steady flow of short form content, which is really hard to do when you're doing all of that yourself. And I think trying to find creative ways to, I guess, satisfy the algorithm, but also stay true to the unique creative aspects that you want to convey is a balancing act for sure.
Definitely, definitely. Wow, you just hit hard with everything. Like, I'm sorry, but you are just like brutally honest about your journey, which I really do appreciate though, to be honest. It just hits me. Like, I'm sorry y'all, but it really hits me. like and it's not like a hurt kind of hit, like it's like an impactful hit. It's like, oh, I actually get him now.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I think to be fully transparent on a lot of this stuff, there's really no answers as to how to do it correctly. A lot of it is figuring out what works by figuring out what doesn't. The amount of times that I've fucked up or kind of fallen flat on my face and just straight up failed, uh, it's very discouraging at first, but you kind of learn to fall in love with the process of failure, and it leads to other doors. I think it's great to kind of figure out what doesn't, because once you start to figure out what does, you keep trying, and eventually you'll find more things that work, and it kind of feels like it all comes together a little bit.
Absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely, for sure on that. I'm just gonna take a bit to just absorb what you just said.
Hey, no worries, man. No worries.
While I'm observing, while I'm just like taking this all in, we'll just make a segue um into what I also wanted to talk about was when did you realize that you actually wanted to do this seriously? When was the moment when you realized that this is what I'm gonna do? Like I'm gonna be an artist, a producer, and this is a serious thing. Like when did that come about?
I think February 28th of 2021,
Was
and
dated?
that specific date.
What?
Yep, specific date. It was the night before. I think it was a Thursday. New Music Friday. A lot of artists drop there, and that's. I worked with the artist Jared Evan on a track called "Moment," which was something that I had never been a part of an official release like this, let alone one of this like magnitude. And promoting it and getting like people excited for it, like Snapchat stories and Instagram, like really just like an all-out social media blitz for it. And I'm technically not a very good, like in the sense making like very good social media content at the time. I wasn't very technical with it, so this was just kind of like, uh, you know, click the link in my bio to pre-save and all that stuff. And even just doing something simple as that. I mean, I went to the gym that night just to kind of like get my mind off of it. And it was a rush. It was just this can't sit still, like feeling in your chest that you can't really describe. And getting comments from people and other artists that I've never heard of, producers, fans of his music. And it was just like the most exhilarating feeling. And when it finally dropped, I remember seeing it on my phone and going to like the producer credits and seeing my name. And I've never, 24 years, never experienced a feeling like that before. And I kind of wanted, at that moment, was like, I really, really want to do this for real. Again, it's something that you really can't put into words. You just like felt it, and uh, forever grateful for the opportunity to get to work with him on that. I mean, that was really, uh, yeah, indescribable.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to also kind of highlight that for a moment that it actually came to you. I feel like a lot of people, I feel like most artists, usually it comes to them. Like, whatever, that they're actually taking serious, like, it actually, I think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it comes to them. Like, like when you were talking about it and that it was indescribable and that you just knew. That's most artists, to be honest. That's most artists and content creators, it just comes to them. Even me, like this came to me. Like nobody deeply thinks about being an artist unless either they get forced into it or something happens in their mind where they like immediately think about it. It's usually always going to be it comes to you in some sort of way. So, to me, it's like, well, okay. I definitely feel that.
I can imagine. I mean, it's not really like, I mean, creativity isn't a logical process. I mean, creatives tend to be very emotionally people. We tend to make decisions based off of our emotions, our ethos and all that. And I think there is way more payoff when it hits because it's just you're going off of this gut feeling. You don't really have the statistics to back it up to kind of quantify like I should be doing this because of X, YZ, whatever it is. And I think, yeah, when you take that gamble on something that you just feel, I feel like it hits a million times harder.
Definitely, definitely. And I'm glad you said that because, again, that's how I felt. That when it came to me, it hit. Like, it really hit. So you are like checking off all the points. You are really spot on with everything. Wow. Oh God. Whew. And I definitely want to expand on to what you were talking about. Now, I wanted to pull in from earlier when you were talking about the effects of COVID while you were in college. So, how did COVID
Mm.
affect the music making process, and did it?
Yeah, so kind of like I said before, COVID was something that was a way to kind of strip it back and take a look at things that were. And I mean, I wasn't working. My classes were, truth be told, kind of a joke. A lot of professors kind of gave up. We're very existential. You know, you'll get an A regardless. These are unprecedented times. The whole spiel. So it was kind of like you just had to show up, listen to whatever they had to say. So I had all this free time, this newfound free time, and I didn't really know how to channel it. And I'd play guitar since I was 12. One of my first jobs was like substituting for guitar teachers for like very basic students, but like um, the theory behind it, the music theory, was something that I wasn't all too familiar with. Like the concept of keys and scales were there, but how they all sort of played into this bigger picture that allowed you to kind of create music, convey specific emotions, all that stuff was something I wasn't super familiar with. And I spent a lot of time watching artists like Aries and Breakins, who were huge inspirations and still are. Watching how they were able to put together stuff, create specific brands, unique identities, and all that. And that was something that I wanted to be able to understand, kind of how the sausage was made, how to utilize specific like chord progressions and scales and keys to be able to convey feelings that I had. And one of the first loops that I put together, actually, I still have it on my computer because it's a nice reminder. Was on GarageBand, which was the one I submitted to that contest run by Jared Evan, and it was enough for him to reach back out and say he wanted to use it for a song. And I think going back to the fundamentals and kind of building myself up again, kind of ground up, was absolutely essential to my growth as a producer, as an artist as a whole too.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I definitely can relate to you. Like, that's also at the college. A lot of professors actually gave up. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But the impact, wow, that was such a huge impact. I haven't gone through that yet, but even from just hearing it, it's like, whoa, okay. You definitely have gone through a lot during COVID. You definitely were hit very hard. I feel you.
Well, I think a lot of people had very extreme reactions, on either end of the spectrum. It was completely devastating, or they were able to really like thrive during it. And again, I know this is a very privileged thing to say, but given the specific like circumstances that I had during that time, I'm very blessed to be able to say that I had the opportunity to kind of thrive during it. Musically, just kind of staying organized and all that. I tend to be a very type B person, and things can get pretty scrambled. I'll tend to not be very good at keeping schedule and all that, but with fewer things to keep track of, it kind of stripped it down to almost like its most rudimentary levels to be able to kind of track stuff and like, okay, maybe this isn't too hard. I kind of, got my feet wet through some of this, and as things kind of open back up, it's like, oh, I've been learning how to do this on a much smaller scale, and now I'm able to use it for much larger things. So again, yeah, something I'm just grateful for the opportunity for.
Oh yeah, that's also a nice plus too. Like as soon as things started opening up, it kind of felt weird to just go back to the way things was because like you learned a lot when you were like locked up, so you can use that. Like you can use that now with things like the things open up. So it's that's also something I did see a trend of people using what they learned to like make businesses and to thrive in their own content. Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, even with this podcast too, with you taking the time, especially during like the height of it, to take your vision and execute it, I feel like is something to be proud of in and of itself. I mean, that's if anybody is able to take something in their head and sort of actualize it, that's, a massive, massive achievement. So, I mean, congratulations on everything that you've built. And, here's to hoping as to where you're going to go.
thank you, and same to you. You know what? We'll just pretend. I'll just pretend to have a beer. I'll just pretend I have one. I want to also say cheers too to your career, to everything that's coming, to literally every single thing that will happen to you, and to living, and cheers to you being almost halfway to 30. Clink.
Cheers.
I really need to get a sound effects guy. But anyway, besides that, another thing that I wanted to ask about, and I know you're gonna have fun answering this because everyone does, but
All
I
right.
definitely want to ask about your process when it comes to actually making songs, making beats. So I definitely want to know, and don't sugarcoat anything. I want to know everything: your equipment, the writing process, the software you use. I want to know the entire process when it comes to making and producing and publishing your work of art online. Hit it.
Absolutely. And it's cool because I feel like I only have a few people that I can just absolutely like nerd out about this stuff over. So I will, I won't sugarcoat it. I'll give you the unfiltered details on all that. I find it just like super fascinating when I hear other people describe it too. So the process is pretty simple. I start predominantly with guitar. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of my artistic that's the foundation for a lot of stuff that I use. Production wise, it's the easiest thing for me. With the piano, I feel like I always have to reverse engineer stuff like that. Okay, so it's these notes on the guitar, I have to play this on the piano. I like pianos, I like pads, I like all that stuff for atmosphere, but for leads, I really like it to be guitar focused. I have an acoustic, I got a Taylor acoustic with a cheap little Squire Telecaster body from Guitar Center. They're like 200 bucks. And the gear I have to this day is an Audio Technica AT2020 mic, what I'm talking about right now. So it's a relatively cheap model. I think at like 130, give or take. Run through a Focusrite Scarlett Solo 3rd generation audio interface, and then the computer I have is a M1 MacBook 2020 14-inch model. Before that, I had a 2012 MacBook Air, which was just slower than a dinosaur. It was ridiculous. With this upgrade, I run everything through Logic. I started out on GarageBand, which was cool to kind of get familiar with that audio interface with that DAW, kind of figure out how things worked, and then upgrading to Logic was something I did in August of 2021, and really got a chance. I mean, I had the free trial for 90 days, and then I got a new account and got like another 90-day free trial, and by the time like 180 days were up, I was like, I'll just screw it. I'll pay $300 for the whole suite or whatever. So that included like Final Cut Pro, which is kind of like a beefed up version of iMovie, Motion, which is kind of like for graphics and 3D stuff, and then I haven't yet used, I think it's called Mainstage, which is for like live performances, but everything I run through Logic. And with this gear, I start out usually with some kind of guitar riff or chord progression or something that serves as the backbone for a track. A lot of inspiration kind of comes from just like, sounds crazy, but just like whistling, in your car, or singing just like random shit. I mean, I don't really listen to the radio when I drive. I would play like loops from shit that I recorded. So I'd plug my phone in and just play like these 30-second loops on like repeat and like kind of hum along, maybe snap at like weird points. But this is just the loop, no drums, no anything really. It's very bare bones. And once I kind of find those melodies or something to go on top of it, I'll go back in. I'll play something on the Akai keyboard. And the best thing about it is you can, like, the versatility of it. So a lot of VSTs are like virtual instruments that I use are the ANA2, which is through Slate Digital's like subscription service, and they have a ton of stuff for like EDM and almost like this weird like ambient stuff. The other one I use a lot is Serum, which learning synthesis was just like another completely different like can of worms. But after playing around with it and watching just like countless YouTube videos, you're able to kind of shape it into the sound that you're looking for. So with those two main ones, I feel like serve as keys, pads, synths, strings, 808s, especially in Serum, I think are a great foundation. And then Splice is an absolute must for any other artist out there. It's $4.99, and they also have a rent-to-own option for Serum, which I think is an additional like $4.99, but you pay for, I think it's like 20 months. And then once that's done, you own Serum, and then it's just back to the regular like $4.99 or whatever the price is. And you'll have it there. It's an absolute must for artists who are looking to kind of upgrade their sound and learn more about synthesis. Absolutely just like a game changer for me. So once I have all that stuff on there, figuring out rhythms, I'll usually just drag in a random kick or snare to kind of get the timing right for it in Logic. And I like to set up whatever like the rhythm is, immediately like quantize it. So if it's a snare and it's like 160 beats per minute, I'll throw it on like the 2s and 4s just to have like a rhythm to it on top of the guitar. Add the kicks, kind of mess around with patterns right there. And once I have that, it's how do you flush it out? How do you make this like expand a little bit? How do you give it more width? And for guitars, I really love doing this. This is like my favorite thing to do to give it a little more space when you're listening to it in headphones, is take the guitar, chord progression, track it, pan it all the way to the left, track the same progression again, pan it all the way to the right, and then it gives you this really wide, like spacious area for it that doesn't take up much of the low end or the mid from the drums. So that kick still hits hard, snares still hit really hard, and the guitars are very prominent, and instead of being in the middle and kind of muddying up the mix, they're a super wide stereo effect, giving you a lot more space. And I think as a producer, you want to take those ideas and make them as big as possible. How do you make this, it could be tracking multiple things over and over again. how do you give it more space? And the more that you kind of build off this, the more you expand. Try to keep it simple. So, tracking the same thing on guitar over and over again, maybe with different tones or cut. Maybe I'll have different plugins on there, but it's the same stuff. It creates a new sound while also expanding on it. I think if you have like multiple different melodies, it gets really complicated. But if you're playing the same things on, um, say you have a riff on the guitar that you think sounds really good, but it sounds a little thin, I would play maybe the same notes, the same pattern and everything on like a VST through ANA2 or something like that. And it wouldn't sound strictly like guitar, but also wouldn't strictly sound like a synth. And I think putting those together gives it a very unique sound. And a lot of that is just like messing around too, throwing random plugins on there. I love like Soundtoys plugins. If you're able to swing the Soundtoys 5 bundle, I think it's an absolute game changer, especially with their Decapitator plugin on guitar, on really anything. It just kind of beefs it up, gives it some really warm analog saturation. Um, and then from there, it's seeing what goes good for a chorus, what goes good for a verse, and all that. Or sometimes you can just say fuck it and ditch traditional song structure. Find something that works for you and go from there. The nice thing about making music and all this stuff, I mean, there's really no wrong way to do it. There are rules, there are suggestions, but I mean, have fun, go out there and just mess around. Watch YouTube videos for specific things. I can't really recommend that enough, but at the end of the day, if you keep working at it, if you keep learning more, trying new things, you're going to strike gold more than once. And I think consistency is key. Just keep doing it, keep at it, and before you know it, it'll feel a little bit easier.
Definitely, definitely. A special highlight to consistency. That's the word for the day, consistency. Ironically, I just listened to a song called I listened to a song called Consistency 2 hours ago. So how ironic is that? um, I know, yeah.
It's crazy.
But thank you for being so intricate with that analysis of your production. That was actually really amazing. It's rare for people to just nerd out and just be honest about the production. So thanks for that. You are definitely this is definitely going better than I thought it was gonna be.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really want to sound too like ranty or just like crazy about all that stuff. Hopefully, it was like coherent enough for those who are interested to kind of pick apart pieces that are valuable to
Absolutely,
them.
absolutely. It's like every time you're talking, it hacks me. Like I wish we were closer. Like I wish the states were kind of closer. We
I
gotta
appreciate it.
hang out or something because imagine what you're like in real life.
Hey, if you're ever in Washington,
Got
man, hit me
to.
up.
Oh my god. I'm hoping that this will go off soon because I want a tour. I actually want to do a real tour.
It'd be a great way to get in front of other people, kind of get their voices
Oh
out there
yeah,
too, as well as
definitely. Like
yours.
I have a whole dream set up. I want to get a tour bus. I want to splurge. I want to I want to see everyone like that I ever had. So that will be a state that I will definitely like stop by and I'll just make sure to surprise you because I'll be like, hey, remember me? Sick.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
But that's just a broad idea. But anyway, um, but yeah, that was such an important question to kind of really ask about. Now, I wanted to also touch base on this actually, and which is what can we look forward to in the future from you? Because this will be released months later, and I want the fans to know that you're going to be still going to be active. So, what do you have coming in the near future in the next few months? What you got planned? What's coming?
Of course, yeah. So I have a lot in the works. Uh, The biggest thing is independent work. My actual ground control music is something that I'm looking forward to sharing. I'm sitting on hundreds of demos, and that's not an exaggeration, different versions and all that. Three, I'm really hoping to release within the next couple months. One of them is a track called Golden Blue. The other one is called Aurora Borealis, and the other one is called Come My Way. And I'm really proud of these three in particular. These have been Aurora Borealis has been literally years in the making. So being able to be at a point where I'm comfortable enough as a producer, as a mix engineer, and as an artist to be able to take the song to where I think it needs to go. A year ago, I just knew it would take more time. So to be able to be at those points right now and putting the finishing touches on them are going to be great. So I'm going tomorrow actually to my buddy's studio and recording the final vocals over a few of them. Mix it, master it. Hopefully in the next couple months, I'll get those to you guys. Monthly, we're looking at mini sample packs. Each volume is going to be each month. So if you're subscribed on Patreon for $5, you will get access to all of that stuff. A lot of guitar loops, drum loops, you name it. I'm going to keep doing that every single month. And then for those who are artists, I don't want to lean too heavy on just the producers. I want to give something to the artists as well. So beat tapes are going to be available through there a lot earlier than the public. I'll post them all on YouTube and stuff like that too. But you'll get priority leasing options too through BeatStars as well. If there's something you like, you can kind of jump out of it before anybody else. And what I'm trying to do here by having this Patreon is build a bit of a community too. I know when I was starting out, it was incredibly difficult to find like help for specific things or how to do this or how to do that. And I think now I feel like I'm at a point where I would have been able to tell my, self a year ago, these are the specific things that you can do for that. And I kind of want to pay it forward too. I know a ton of artists who are kind of at a crossroads when it comes to how to do certain things. Maybe it's not explicitly clear. And I would just love nothing more than to give back to it. With the name being ground control, I do want to help others shoot for the stars, as corny as that might sound, but I really do. Helping others has kind of been a big part that goes hand in hand with this music thing. So as much as there is a focus on independent releases from myself coming up, I also want to focus on the production aspect, the kits, the beat packs, the samples, and essentially this community to help others do what they're trying to do as well.
Wow. That sure is a lot in the next few months. um,
I'm excited. I've been sitting on some of these for a while, so to be able to put them out there is going to be,
I bet for sure.
Long time coming.
I bet. I'm actually kind of living your life a little bit with the releases and all. So I relate to that very much. I got a few things in the works myself, so I can definitely relate to being excited to actually release something that you've been working on for a while.
Especially like having a content schedule too is very difficult because I know like anything else, you probably get inspiration on something. You want to do this like really bad. You want to get this out there, but it's like it makes sense to follow, like stick to the schedule too and not like rush things either. And you don't want to have a subpar product. You want to give everybody else, the best that you're able to offer and yourself too. I've put out a song that was my first one that I just kind of took down recently. I didn't feel like that was representative of what I could do and what my skill set was. So I get it. It's very hard to stick to a content schedule without getting like super excited about the next thing.
That's why I don't have like a lengthy schedule. I feel like you shouldn't really have a lengthy, schedule of everything planned out for next month. Like it's nice to plan stuff, but how like getting surprised if it doesn't work out and like rescheduling and all that, like it's nice to get a little surprise in that and actually getting excited. If everyone planned out, we would never really be excited. I guess for me, I wouldn't be excited if I just planned out everything. It takes the fun. At least for me, it does.
You got to plan for the surprises, but also take for kind of take it as it comes too. If you're trying to grow a brand, it's important to have a schedule, but at the same time, it's human nature. You can't control everything, and I think those things that come that you don't expect, you have to appreciate them just as much.
100%. Couldn't say it better myself. Couldn't say it better myself. Um, Also, want to say congrats too. What I didn't know is you were featured on a playlist from Wisconsin hip hop. I know it was months ago, but I still gotta say congrats. That's fire.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was a song that I was incredibly proud of. It's called Bottom Out, and I started writing it and recording it after I lost my job due to the cuts in Seattle. And it was a really hard pill to swallow, and I kind of threw myself 100% at this music stuff. And the subject matter isn't necessarily indicative of where I'm at now, but I think a snapshot of kind of that mental headspace I was in, having just lost my job, was incredibly difficult, and the strain it put on friendships and relationships. And I think this was my way of kind of channeling that emotionally into a track. Um, I did the music video for it too. It's a lyric video more than anything, but all the shots were in Hawaii for a vacation I took, and it was uh, edited. This is my first time doing anything like that, so being able to produce the song, mix it, master it, record it, edit it, promote it, and then once that was kind of out in the ether, to be able to like shoot for a music video and lyric video, I guess, to color grade, color correct, edit that, and then like post it, has been something that's just like, I don't care if this gets 2 views or anything like that. It felt good to be able to say that I did literally everything myself. And if, like I said, if it doesn't get anything, I'm not I'm not mad about it, because it was a good learning experience. And throughout the process of trying to promote that song, I started out with only like 15 followers. So the Wisconsin hip hop placement was massive. I got to connect with a bunch of talented local Wisconsin hip hop artists, a lot of them based out in Milwaukee. And I just want to give a shout out to one of the dudes on there. Actually, two of the guys. Lavish Liam, who he was actually my college roommate for the first semester. The dude's doing things in Wisconsin right now. That's going to be huge. And then the other guy's name is Zazu Unorthodox. Super nice guy. He's been a supporter since day one. And this dude is pretty talented too. He's a producer and artist as well. So being able to meet with those guys has been, or with Lavish Liam, a chance to kind of reconnect with somebody. But a great experience and opportunity all around.
And I'm even more happy that you don't care about statistics, and I love that you just put out music because you love it and you enjoy it, and I love that for sure. I can't stand people who are just so much into stats and trying to be successful. Like, you doing this, like, you enjoy it, and that's something that's even more incredible. So thank God.
I appreciate it. I mean, it is a hard line to toe, because you do want to reach more people, so you have to try to think of like brand growth and all that stuff. You have to kind of set like some KPIs to try to hit, but at the end of the day, you're doing it because you love it. You're not a businessman. You're not really an entrepreneur who makes music. And I think at this stage, and for a lot of small artists, you have to wear all of those hats to be able to promote your music, to be able to focus on statistics, SEO, all that stuff. I mean, you're fighting for the shortest attention spans in history right now, and it's an incredibly hard process. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to take a step back sometimes and be like, I made this, I'm proud of it. I made it. It's out there. I did it. And I think sometimes for someone like myself who is trying to grow an audience, it's really hard to not think about like the metrics and all that without kind of getting bogged down. But you'll drive yourself crazy if you focus too much
100%.
on that
And
stuff.
I hate to comment, but you are too right. Like that, like see, I can't even comment. Those are really strong points. Like guys, that's how you say strong points. Like like when you were talking about those, um, like those are not only valid but they're right, and I have proof. I've actually seen, you know, people freak out when they don't get the results they want, and I and as much as I feel
Mhm.
sorry for them, I honestly don't. Like, at the same time, it's like, why do you care? Like, you should be making art because you want to, not because you're trying to like get proper or anything.
Yeah, 100%. I think some people get into this kind of thing purely for the goal of monetization, but I think on the other hand, it can be a fine line, I guess, when you're thinking of this. But on the other side of that, you have people who are very passionate about what they do, that to be able to continue to do that or to kind of get their vision out there more, it requires monetization from it. And it's like, I think the causation is what should be focused on. Are you in it for the money, or are you in it for like the love of doing what you want to do, but need the money to keep doing that, if
Yeah,
that makes
definitely,
any sense?
definitely. Sure, and I feel that. Oh, sorry.
'Cause I was gonna say I know a lot of talented people who are just don't have the outreach or the financial means to um, kind of continue what they're doing, who are trying to profit off of the work that they do. And I think artists should get paid. Obviously, I think artists should profit off what they do a little bit more. But there's just this learn not learning curve, but almost this hump before you get in. You're able to generate revenue off of songs that are out there. For producers, you have options like sample pack, uh, beat tapes, all that stuff, and it's like once you start establishing that, it takes a long time for really any payoff. You have to be doing it because you love it, and the money will come eventually. It's just to be able to get to that point is where it kind of weeds people out, I think. Like, are you really, really passionate about this? Or is this something you're trying to do for a quick buck? Because if you're in it for a quick buck, you're going to have a bad time. I mean, it's not going to reward somebody who's trying to, um, yeah, just get in real quick, make a little bit of cash off it, because that's just not
Yeah,
how the industry
yeah,
works.
and I can definitely, I can definitely see now why you earned that degree. You definitely know the ins and outs of business. I definitely see you as a CEO someday, and I hope you do not forget me when you become CEO. Like I hope you still like remember this moment because I want to visit you in New York in your brand new CEO office and be like, remember we were talking like this? Remember that we had the conversation?
I would lose my mind if I was a CEO in New York. It's too much stress. Way too
Well,
much.
yeah. I mean that's the downside, but I would get to see your office and you'd be really successful. I mean, not saying like you're not. You know what? I have lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. um,
It's all good, man. No, I think when you're doing this as an artist or a producer or any creative in general, you have to familiarize yourself with the certain business aspects of it. I'm still learning, obviously, and truth be told, my degree has absolutely, I don't want to say absolutely none, but very, very little uh, weight in what I guess I'm doing now. I mean, there are some principles that are like transferable and whatnot, but largely going to a 4-year university and getting a degree in this, it just, there's not a ton of correlation. And I don't want people to kind of get the wrong impression that, having gone through an undergraduate program like that, that I would have a lot more business insight as to how this works because truth be told, it's really not that uh, similar
yeah,
in any
I do
sense.
see where the line falls on that. I do. Um, yeah. God, my throat is killing me. Um, But yes, you do make very, very strong points, and sorry for being so broad. It's just, it's a lot to take in. I don't usually get to interview nerds, so, if I if I had more, like, I would know what to say.
All good, man. All
I
good.
really don't know. Like, I apologize for, like,
Of
the
course.
broad statements, but really, like, I've done my research. I actually got this packed in. It's just, it's hard to respond. So,
All good.
I'll
Hey,
agree
maybe
to
we can
that.
set up
I
a
definitely
second
want a
one
second
sometime in the
one.
future.
I definitely, that will definitely be happening. No question. But what was I saying? Anyway, the last thing that I think the fans will love would be some advice. Now I know you've given a lot of advice during this, but what would you say to anybody who's coming up, who's a producer, a mix engineer, or an artist coming up? What would you tell them?
Oh my God, just do it. I mean, you have to understand that your first like 50, 100 songs are going to be terrible. And you can hold on to those as long as you want, but it's not until you start putting them out there that you're going to get real world feedback, or maybe you'll just get this gut feeling that, oh my God, I can do better. This doesn't need to be out there. And I think that's kind of a good like litmus test for where you're at and where you need to be. Uh, Keep doing it, keep making it. I think inspiration is super, super important for finding unique ideas, but that consistency that we were talking about to be able to do that, if not every single day, to be able to do it a certain amount of times a day. Maybe you set like an hour to do this, to just kind of fuck around. Uh, Playing around's important. It helps you experiment with new ideas and just keep doing it. You're not going to get better unless you just consistently do it. You'll figure out more things. You'll figure out things that you don't even think were things you needed to know. But now that you know them, you're like, I don't know how I did it before. YouTube videos are absolutely, lifesavers. I feel like I learned how to produce like 5% from like messing around on my own and like 95% from like YouTube videos. And you just have to try to be able to copy what they do. And throughout that entire process, you will find your voice, you'll find your style, you'll find your niche. It comes to you. You just have to be willing to work at it and kind of forget the financial aspect of it. Just keep doing it. Understand you're going to suck for a while. And there will be a day where you'll wake up and you'll realize that maybe you don't suck. And I'm starting to realize that a little bit. All the time and effort you put into it. I know there's that phrase with like 10,000 hours, you become a master at something. But there are levels to it too. Say you put for, completely arbitrarily put like 2,000 hours in something. You'll go from like a beginner to a novice. And it's those steps that are just so unbelievably rewarding. And throughout this, you'll network with other people, get a chance to talk to them, figure out what they do, and truly just immerse yourself in this. I know that's not really one specific piece of advice, but if I had to boil it down, I'd say try new things, watch YouTube videos, network, and just keep doing it. Regardless of what it is, just keep doing it. Familiarize yourself, and the
100%.
rest will come.
And to be honest, I was expecting that. So much advice. I was expecting that. So that's why I'm at the question. Like, just say whatever advice comes to your mind. So you hit the mark. Ooh.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like part of that was, me talking to myself a little bit too. Obviously, I'm nowhere near the point that I want to be, but it's you just got to be consistent, even on the days where you don't feel like doing it. I think that's
Definitely.
kind of what separates people.
Definitely. For sure. Well, let me just be the first to just say how amazed I am to do this. Again, I'm sorry for being late, but I really enjoyed this, to be honest. This was really, really fun. I really had an amazing conversation with you. I have learned so much about you, and I'm really, really happy that I got to do this. So thank you so much.
It's all good. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on here. I appreciate you reaching out, and thank you for this insightful conversation. I had a blast talking to you and getting a chance to nerd out a little bit. So
Definitely,
I really
and
appreciate
one
you
of the
lending your
other
platform
reasons
to
is
me.
because you do have a small following, and I want to fix that. Like you are such an incredible artist. Like you deserve more exposure. So I definitely want you to have more exposure because I do care about you, and I do want the best for you. So I want you to have all those resources and opportunities.
I appreciate it,
Up
man.
and
Yeah,
all.
onward and upward for the both of us.
Well, you just got me thinking of a title to call this podcast. Ground control. Support up and onward. Oh yes. Let me just put in my notes. Just put in my notes.
There you go.
It's crazy.
Crazy how inspiration strikes sometimes. It's just the weirdest moments. And it's like
Yeah,
if you
for
don't write it
sure, for
down, you might
sure.
lose it.
I'm gonna put in my notes right now actually. Let's see. Ground control. Support up and onward. I like the name. I'll revamp it later. Anyway, face the attention of them watching. Thank you all so much for watching our amazing extensive interview. I put some links down below to check out Ground Control. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. And trust me, there'll be more music on the way. And make sure y'all to really, buy up the Patreon and, get those sample packs. I mean, trust me, y'all are going like I haven't done it, and I have my excuses why I haven't, but y'all need to go on Patreon and y'all need to get those sample packs. Y'all need to support this man because he's amazing, and y'all should like. Basically, at this point, it's your civil duty to support musicians. So, um, but anyway, I really hope you all learned something and really took in what we talked about. Back very very soon. So until then, I hope you all have the great rest. I can't talk. I hope that you all have a great rest of your night and enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you again all for watching. And check out the links below. And you know, keep on smart musicians. Don't do anything dumb. Don't smoke. Drink occasionally. And remember, have sex once a week. Really. Have sex once a month. Yeah, once a month. Anyway, I'll catch y'all later and peace out. Bye.